What's up, legends? Welcome into round 10's buy, hold, risk itself for Supercoach, and we're going to kick it off in the hooking position again. And obviously, the focus from here is looking at guys that probably play around 13 and 14, or someone who even if they do miss round 13, they're going to make some money or score well over the next few weeks at a minimum. So they're probably the two options at the moment. And myself, in my situation, I brought Brayley into the squad last week, and that didn't turn out too well. Hopefully he ends up with some more minutes back to that 70 kind of range this week, but I'm not going to hold my breath. Happy Coruscant returns from injury, and I think that he's just the play this week. If you do own him, if you have a mixture of him and Harry Grant or something like that, then if you have better, reserves that you can pop in, then maybe that works out better for you and you don't have to play Appy with the concerns around his back. But Connor Watson was the biggest scorer last week at 125. And now with him back to the bench, you cannot select him now that he's up another 103k. If you do own him, I think it's fine to play this week. I think you should expect somewhere around the 50-odd mark. Obviously, if you can get involved in some assists and tries again, then even better. But I think his base will sit around that 50-odd in the 50 minutes, which will work out pretty well. Enough for him to make some more money and be a solid guy for round 13, but not a purchase anymore. One to obviously think about this week is that of Sam Verrills, but there could be many changes over the next few weeks in this side, with Randall potentially moving back to 9. What do they do with Campbell? There's probably a few too many question marks on Verrills in a Supercoach standpoint. I think he's a little bit of a better buy in fantasy, but there's still those risks attached to him. That's for sure. But you've got guys like Reed Marnie, who is scoring the best at the moment. He did lose 8k on the weekend, got 64 with a try assist. He is up against Penrith this week, and I don't see that as a very exciting matchup. With Reece Robson, very high chance he plays Origin, so do you want to grab him into your side? He had a good one on the weekend there with 75 as well. It's probably a little bit too close to Origin to buy Harry Grant. Blake Brayley is an interesting one. He's averaging 64 for the season, and he gets to play 13, 14, and 15 straight for your sides if you wanted to go him as well. If you need someone like him, it's him or it's Jeremy Marshall-King for mine right now in the hooking position, and I probably wouldn't go anywhere else. Wigan, that's right, Wade Egan. He ends up with a 43 last week and not playing great, so I would avoid him, Wigan, at the moment, that's for sure. With your front row forwards, if you held on to Terrell May last week, I think you give him another crack, and there's a chance he plays good minutes and can continue to be one of the best front row forwards in the game for sure. So I think at a minimum he's a hold this week with a much lower break even. Obviously, following that effort last week, he heads back down to a 14 break even and can make some more money. I think you just watch him this week and decide on that front row forward position. Next week, there's obviously some opportunities to improve around him with guys like Adam Fanua-Blake there for sure, and there's really not too many other players apart from Tommy Hazelton, who just continues to score tries. Very, very impressive. And then Jamin Jolliffe with sort of the 50s to 60s type of range without a try for him. You've got Samuel Lafano, who's a little bit lower down the price point. Sam Hughes, obviously, he's a hold for mine. I think Xavier Willison you can hold as well. He's coming out of that massive score where he scored the try, and his break even sits at 51 this week. I think his role increases a little bit, and with Fletcher Baker coming off that bench, Jack Jasewski coming on, I do think that he's going to be closer to that 40 mark in minutes than people may think. With the good running meters, he should be able to continue to get sort of 20 odd to 30 in just running stats alone, with the odd tackle break, the odd offload, and then he has opportunities to score tries as well. So keep that in mind for him, along with Corey Jensen, who's I think is a hold now. Like him, they're both going to play a pretty important role over the bye period for sure. Yes, they don't play 13, 16, but 14, 17, 19 and 20, they should get some extra responsibility with the boys backing up in Payne Haas and also Carrigan there for sure. Tarpanay, I don't think we can have a watch of him, but he's getting a bit cheaper, but it seems like apparently he's carrying a bit of a rib issue potentially. So really it's only Adam Fanua-Blake that I think you can target, but 753k now after another 29k jump. He's 13k above his starting price from this year, which is pretty incredible and shows the quality that he can possess. And we didn't think that he'd be able to match what he did last year, but these minutes are absolutely spectacular, between 65 and 70 in recent time, that's for sure. So the front row forward position outside of that, Samuel Afanu, Daniel Saifidi, a good score last week, but he's averaging 38.7, which is pretty gross there for sure. Samuela at 28k up at this 379,000 is definitely someone I think you can slot into the front row forward or the 2RF position with some confidence that he can get you sort of a 45 to anywhere up to 70 if he gets some attacking stats against the Knights this week. But a tough one against Tyson Frizzell in his return game for sure. Outside of that, in the front row forward, it's pretty grim. You got Fisher Harris with the 61 in all base last week, which was really good, at 512, and he's going to play a role over the Origin period for sure. And he will cover 13 and 14 for you. And outside of that, Toby Rudolph's out now. Harm Saleh in there, and up 16.6k. He's doing fairly well over the last 3 weeks. They're averaging 47.7, but he's not going to earn you a lot of money or be a really exciting playable player in the front row forward position. So let's leave that spot there for now. Another position that's not very exciting right now is that of 2RF. And we're seeing a lot of the excitement machines in the center wing and obviously fullback. So if you're looking at my side there, Angus Crichton, if you still missed out on him, he's very expensive now at 712k. I do think that you need to, at a minimum, buy him for the scores and the cash grab over the next few weeks, even if that means that he does play Origin and you have to sell in round 13. He's going to be 800 something thousand very, very quickly with these good scores as well. So Crichton, make sure he's in your side. Eli Katoa, a bit of a low one this week and doesn't have Jerome Hughes next to him for the next few. So let's see how he goes next to Wishart for sure. And then Beau Fermor, I'm not excited about him after his 46 last week. And I don't know, part of me feels like it's an attacking stat type of week up against the Cowboys in this one. But again, there's another change in the halves there with Randall and also Foran battling it out together with Fafita being so dominant on the other side. I'm not sure if the attack's going to come, but very likely they'll have to play him this week or potentially Galvin. And if you're in the similar boat, I don't know, it's got this feeling for attacking stats this week. We'll see. But yeah, Kaipis Paul a clear hold. I think Smithy's a clear hold as well. Chan, if you have the ability to get rid of him, great. Probably likely means you'd have to have a Burbo or a Salmon down here to move up there, because I don't think anyone in the 2RF is very relevant at that cheaper price point unless you had sort of 300 or 400k to go up. I just don't see it being a real clear option. But anyway, let's go in and have a look at all the options in the 2RF, and most of them are either suspended in Homole or they playing Origin, or they're just not super relevant and on the way down. And that's Jackson Ford on the way down. He was in a really good spot a bunch of weeks ago, a much better score there of 63 and averaging 51 over the last 3. So he's lost a good amount of cash, and if the Warriors can get back to some good scoring, he's not the worst shout at 573. We're not playing Origin. You got Tohu Harris there. For me with him, he has to get those attacking stats to be relevant, and he's got a couple of them over the last sort of month. But outside of that, he seems like it just feels like an average pick. Like he's just going to do okay for you, which I think you can get okay. Like, both of them all had 2 70s back to back. Harris has had a couple of 70s in the last month as well. So yeah, yes, way more expensive and more consistent than both of them all, but I wouldn't make that trade, if that makes sense. Jermaine Hopgood's one of your better ones, obviously, but he's had a lower last 3 than what his beginning 3 were. That's for sure. 65 for him. Ruben Cotter at 73 over his last 3 has been great, but he's going to be an Origin as well. If you have Elliott, I think he's just a hold at this point, similar to that with Jack DeBellin, who got lower minutes on the weekend. McInnes, solid, obviously, for Fafita. It's a 3-week play. Potentially hold him till round 16 for sure. Tom Eisenhuth, if you got to 516,000 available, then maybe he's the guy. Curran, I'm not sure if he's a clear buy right now. He did pick up a try on the weekend, but those minutes were pretty average, to be honest with you. And then down the line from there, Garner, how long is he going to keep your spot? Bateman, back to the edge now. Is that, a selection that you might be interested in at 600k? Kulakefu, Finifuriaki, got the 34 on the weekend, made some more cash. I think he can be held, for one more week. But it's an interesting one. Britton Nikora is probably the only guy at 614 that you might want to look at. 3-round average of 68. Obviously got the try a couple of weeks ago. that's probably someone you might want to focus on for sure. And then down the line from there's not too many high average guys, as I said, that you want to be having a look at. All right, this is a tough week for me in the half position. I have to trade Jerome Hughes. So if you're in the same, I don't think any other halves at the moment are worth selling, to be honest, apart from Hughes, and if you have Luke Brooks in the half position. If they're the two, then that's what I would be looking at this week. And if you do need to trade him out, all the other guys are hold. So Johnson's a hold, DCE's a hold, all those kind of things. I don't think SJ's a buy this week. Losing cash at the moment with a higher break even. Warriors aren't going that well. I just don't think I can jump on him right now. Up against the Roosters as well this week. Same with DCE, just more the fact that he's got Origin coming up. Nico Hines, another 87k up last week. Very, very impressive. And averaging 91 for the season now. Go, Nico, go. Matt Burton's probably one of the guys you could look at, but has some risk around, 18th man Origin. Could make the team. Could be the utility. There's a few things there for him. Could be the 6, like he's playing well enough at the moment. He's an option. Very, very expensive. 767 for sure. Looking down the line, you got Chatty coming back, but he had a bit of an injury. Sam Walker at 575k. He's definitely on my list, but how exciting is he as an option? I suppose he's someone that we could definitely have a little bit of a dive into, because after Cleary, I think he's my secondary option this week. My main issue with him is he has one good game this year. The second highest score for him is 56. He's got a 55, a 42, a 40, a 12, and a 3. Pretty gross. Obviously, the 12 and the 3 we can take out, but outside of that, it's pretty disgusting. So that average he's got at 54.3 is being held up by 172. That is for sure. So if you decide to muck around with Walker, he still has a negative 37 break even because of that high score in his rolling average. You're really banking on the fact that he is the guy. And look, he looked okay on the weekend. He didn't look anything like what he looked like the game before. If he helps you out longer term and he's someone you feel like you can hold for a good while up until near his buy-in round 19, then I think it can work. Or using him for a sort of 4-week play, round 10, 11, 12, 13, trade in round 14 to maybe a Johnson or something like that could work out for you. Maybe Hughes comes back then and you could look at that. A few options, obviously there, you could maybe get Mitch Moses in around 14 or 13. That could play as well. None of them are super exciting, so my main thought is the fact that I just get Nathan Cleary back into the side. Like, he's had 4 games this year. It hasn't been super exciting. A 36, 73, 121 was great, and then a 51. Comes up against Dogs, Warriors, and Sharks. It's not the easiest run in the world. And he comes up against, the tough left-hand side where he might miss a bunch of tackles and whatever can happen there. So for me, it's Walker or Cleary, and both of them aren't super exciting. Like, Cleary probably doesn't back up a lot of games after Origin. So half position this week, it's a bit of a worry, that's for sure. Brown and Galvin, 2 guys you just clearly hold in your front in your 5/8 position. But if you're not, then Dearden is a guy that does stand out for sure. At 606k, up 40 last week. They have a nice run over the next bunch of weeks. He's unlikely to be the guy that plays Origin. Chance of 18th man, which he has been in the past, which will cook him a little bit. But that's really solid scores over the last month there. 63, 74, 60, and 87 with, the Sharks and Panthers in there where they got beat very comfortably. So he's a guy up against Titans, South, Tigers, and then Roosters and Warriors. And also Raiders. That's a really nice run over the next bit that he could do a job for you in that 5/8 position. If you wanted to do an upgrade from a Luke Brooks, that could work out well if that's where you need to go. Cody Walker is someone that's kind of stood out over the last couple of weeks a little bit, but he's still not, it's 51.7 average with some decent, some solid efforts from him, a couple of try assists and the like, but it's not really benefiting him. Munster is going to be the guy to carry the squad a little bit here over the next 3 weeks. So you could look at him as that type of play, but do you want to? Max Plath, he's up at 515 now, feels a little bit awkward to buy in this week. I think he'll be solid. He'll do a job over the buy period, but not someone that will make a ton more cash. You could definitely look at KO Weeks next week if you didn't want to trade in this one and you wanted to grab him in 5/8 next week. That could definitely be a play. He obviously picked up a try assist and a try last game, and he'll make some money in round 11 as well. Plays round 14, that could be round 13. That could be a really solid one for your side. Centre wing is the big one to talk about now. I've got Isaac Tungo, so as I said, it's a bit of a tough week from my side, so it might be worth just going nuts and getting Cleary for sure. Isaac with the 1 week suspension, you just got to hold him. Roger, you could hold or sell. I think you just want him. Do you want him just as another guy in your squad that's just doing all right? Do you hold him, or instead of holding Strange, maybe? Kale Iro is a good one to keep hold of. Garrick, it's this week or just leave him, I think, for a while because he's got some tougher matchups following this game. Hopefully Val Holmes goes nuts in this week upcoming, which would be great. But your centre wing, there's a few top dogs to target. And obviously Manu is the guy, I think, longer term. You could have him for a long time, obviously, and get him at fullback if Tedesco's in Origin for 13, for 16, which is going to be great. Do you want to grab him this week? You can. Someone on the rise, and it's very hard to grab after this week, is that of Jermaine Osako. Really, really good run to come. He's someone that you could jump on and hold him for the entirety of the bye period. And if you get through that far, then you're just holding him for the season, given they'll be done with their buys by 18. So if you get all the way through to 18 or 19, then you just hold for the season as a season-long keeper. So that's cool. Next guy on my list would be Zach Lomax. I think back to the wing there. And this matchup this week is going to be, I think he's very close to being the top centre wing this week, outside of Val or what Osako or Garrett could do this week for sure. Manu could go nuts as well. I think most of the top guns this week can do really, really well. And you've got Brimson in there as well at up against the Cowboys, who, if he maintains his spot at 1, could do really well also. I think Ronaldo's the kind of worry player. Couple of tougher games in upcoming, and doesn't look the same without Trindle on his side as well. So he's the worry if you're going to hold him. Yes, the 3-round average of 60, still scored okay, but are you going to get the big enough scores to keep anywhere near this 750k price point? I don't think so. But Lomax has a bye next week. He has a couple of tougher matchups with Penrith, I believe, in round 12 following. So do you want to be subject to that and just have rose-coloured glasses on this week up against the decimated South side? That's probably what you need to answer for yourself. Eisenhuth, you've got there at 516. I think if you're going to pick him, it's in the 2RF, not the centre wing. So there's that. To'o, we can't buy at the moment. Meany's still at centre. If he was at fullback, I'd look for you to add him. I've got him in the head-to-head, and I'm going to leave it at that. You've got, where is he? We'll get into it in a sec. We need the total points. Dom Young. There he is. 549k. He's a very interesting prospect this week. You look at his scores, and they're very, very good outside of the two shockers. One against Penrith, where he got 30. It's against Penrith. And then minus 15 with the send-off against the Dogs. But outside of that, he's gone 50, 84, 88, and a 150. And you look at their little draw coming up. It's the Warriors, Sharks, Canberra, into Cowboys and Para. So very, very nice with that buy in round 14 in there. He's got the negative break even as well, and he could be a guy that now has lost 90k from his starting point, could make all that back and some over the next 4 weeks with some good scores. If you think that the Roosters will continue with their run of form, he's definitely someone that I think you can pop on the list and is the cheapest of the really good purchases this week. Let's have a look at that. Next guy you probably want to look at is Taylor May. If you own him, just hold on. Play him this week if you like. He's up against the slightly easier side. He might get some missed tackles out of Hutcho and stuff if he actually gets the ball, but that's obviously the question. If you haven't got Iro yet, make sure he's in your side for sure. Then we've got Greg the Leg Marzu, 501k. He has lost so much, but it just doesn't look like he's going to get any good ball anytime soon. 38.7 all in base is his average over the last 3 currently. Bronson Xerri up 65k last week. 66 even. It's very, very difficult to select him at 474 up against Panthers this week. After a couple of, just okay scores, he's going to start to slow down on the money making. Herbie Farnworth in a really solid spot there for sure. Just hard to buy him first came back, and if his shoulder's not 100%, then that could be a little bit annoying. And then we get down to Armstrong wherever he is at 204.3k. He's a very interesting selection this week. Didn't get the great score last week. He'll make some money, but then that big score in round 1 will come out of his rolling average. So keep that in your mind. But if it's a drier game for them, which not sure if it will be, to be honest with you, it looks like there's some rain around again for the next 3 or 4 days. he could go a little bit average again. But it wasn't his best game on the weekend. I think he'll do better than 25, but how much better? And he goes to Farlonga. He got the awesome try last week, but only picked up 41 points. Looks like carrying a little bit of a knee niggle. You can grab him this week. You can play him. I think he'll be able to do fairly solidly, but you can also wait one more week. He's a 340k. It's not a basement price, so he frees up a bit, but not anything crazy. So up to you on that one. I think you can wait the week or just lock it in, as I said. For the fullbacks this week, I think Walsh has a good 3-week play here. So make sure if you own him, you're not selling him. Trey Fuller, same deal on that front, that you're just holding on steady. But if you didn't have either of those two, so if you weren't in my situation, I'll be holding these two. If you're in the situation of having Pat, then you have some questions to answer. You've got Garrick and Keiliro that can come down into fullback, and you can select one of those center wings that I spoke about. If you don't have Scott Drinkwater, he's the play this week at 746, in my opinion. My head-to-head team has Drinkwater and Pap, so Drinky's not the answer, obviously. If you want to go for Garrick, as I said, he can slot right in there, which is cool. Tommy Turbo, I wouldn't go for this week, closer to Origin now. Tedesco, he is more of the play, closer to Origin. Because both of them would be a sell if they made Origin around 13, but Teddy could be a good 3-week play. I feel like you need to have about 30 trades to make that decision, though. So maybe do you go Dom Young instead, who's 100k less expensive. AJ Brimson is a potential option like we spoke about. Wouldn't go for Meany. Yeah, so really outside of that, it's mainly guys that you want in your center wing, to be honest with you. Like outside of those, getting Drinky, having like Walshy, these types of guys, then it's probably one of your center wings that you need to upgrade to be honest with you, unless you're taking that play on Tedesco. It's not a super exciting position this week, except for like Walsh and Drinky. So, and then Fuller, if you got him, hold him, play him, he'll be fine. But yeah, that's the thoughts on Supercoach for this week. The buy, hold, risk it, sell. Plenty of good options. Obviously, it's more just the annoying ones in Hughes and my situation with Tungo, and then front row forward could be a little bit awkward this week if May doesn't go tremendously well with the minutes that he may get, and then Hooker's a bit average as well. 2RF's not scoring great. Half outside of Hughes, Hines, not great. And then 5/8's just a bit boring. And yeah, so it's just center wings. Center wings or bust. Center wings, fullbacks or bust, to be fair, at this point of the season. So I hope that turns around for all of our sides, and we have plenty of fun here coming into round 10. I wish you guys all the best of luck, and we'll get into my trades in tomorrow morning's video. Thanks, team. See you later.